Hello, everybody. Thank you to be there with us. Thank you to taking time to participate in this third Shared Patient Experience webinar. This session is very special for me because we are today in my hospital in the heart of Brussels, in Belgium, of course. And I hope that this webinar allows us to dream a little, dreaming of an hospital taught by providers, of course, and patient and providers all together. So I'm very pleased to introduce our CEO, Hadvig de Kort. So thank you, Hadvig.
Thank you. Thank you. So I will take a little bit. Hello, everybody. My name is indeed Hadvig, or Vic for French speaking persons. I'm your welcome to the third SPX colloquium. I'm your host of today for the next hour and a half. And so I would like to start with some words about me. Who am I? I'm somebody who loves people, is passionate about any human being. I'm committed to society since I was a kid. And since then, what I'm trying to do, let's say every day, is to create an environment where people feel comfortable to be part of. Is it in my home situation where I have a husband and 3 small children? We also had 2 bigger ones. With my friends, with my family, in the scouting in the school, and since 2018, also in the Clinique Saint-Jean. I'm heading the Clinique Saint-Jean since June 2018, coming from totally different sectors. Clinique Saint-Jean, in the heart of Brussels, like so said, we exist more than 8 centuries, more than 800 years. Are we taking care of Brussels? We are taking care of people who live and come to Brussels, simply. We are known for high quality of medicine and care, obviously, and we were innovative in certain areas at certain point in time. I would say like 10 to 15 years ago, we were amongst the first ones who had an integrated electronic patient record. In the meanwhile, we are heading for a second life or a second generation, let's put it that way. We were also the first ones who installed on a structural way palliatieve zorgen. Palliative in English is a little bit strange, care. So we were known for our quality and on our innovative projects in the meanwhile. A general hospital giving all types of care, whether it's curing, preventing, whether it's accompanying, physical, mentally, all for elder people, for younger people. We are offering the full-fledged care area. Medium-sized, we have 550 beds. It's a medium in Brussels, it's a small one. On national level in Belgium, it's a medium-sized hospital, heart of Brussels, as I said before. More than 1,400 people working in the hospital or in the clinic, 260 doctors, and we care for around 30,000 patients a year. Before the crisis, let's put it that way, before the COVID pandemic, we started a major transformation journey all together with the team of Saint-Jean. We had to do that to make sure that we remain as we are today and that remain for the future the key reference hospital in the center of Brussels. And therefore we have to modernize and make sure that everywhere the new latest technologies or latest views are really included in the overall clinic. So we launched a lot of investment programs, and it is as well within care, obviously, infrastructure, the buildings, technology, investing in people, human capital, logistics, medical, really in all the different areas we are having big investment programs. We decided and we chosen already a year and a half ago that patient experience is obviously the driver that makes us, that will differentiate us towards the other hospitals on the site. And therefore, as you probably most of you know already, we also created an executive function in our management team, in our executive team, showing that it's really a strategic pillar, and the president of SPX is also our chief experience officer within the Clinique Saint-Jean, of which I'm very, very proud. When we say that we really want to include patient experience in all the investments we're doing, then it's more than only putting the patient in the center of everything we're doing. Patient experience for us is, again, more than putting patients in the center. It is including the fact that the patient is a human being with its own story, with its own life, within its own context. And so we're really convinced that in every different strategic pillar or transformation journey we do, we have to include these notions. Clinique Saint-Jean was and is already convinced of that, but that is enough, let's say, for me or for the clinic. I think today, typically, I forgot, but today, typically, there are 4 other speakers who will give their light on that. But before that, indeed, 2 quotes, recently 2 quotes of customers. We went live with a new accelerator. It's a new machine for radiotherapy, obviously. And other that we made a major step on technological, medical competences and possibilities. We also had already a first return of the patients who used it, that they said that other than the treatment they have, they were very happy to understand that they didn't have the feeling of being inside a meat grinder. So the patients we were treating with the old accelerator really had a rather anxious or scaring experience of being part of the elder machines. Another quote, we know it all, and I have it myself had at multiple times. I think it remains something very stressful for patients when they're desperately looking for their doctor and going lost into our big infrastructures we all have within a hospital. So again, patient experience is really somewhere we have to include in everything, meaning that we want patient experience in everything. It means that we give a place to emotion and all the different journeys we start. A patient is more than patient plus. We talk about the patients, but also its families, also the care, the people who are in the care, people who are part of the families of the hospitals. It is much bigger than only the patients. Another important thing is go jamba. It's a Japanese word or verb that means that you have to go on the field, walk your talk, go and sense, feel, talk, listen to the patients instead of staying within our laboratories or in our ivory towers. And all these elements have to be included in the ecosystem of our hospitals. But as I promised before, enough about Clinique Saint-Jean. Today, I'm honored of giving the word to 4 colleagues of us. There is first Florian, who will start with giving his idea on how patient experience have to be or will be included in choices and designing medical devices and other. Then we have our duo designers, Danny and Raymond, who will give us their insight in how patient experience is included in the designing of infrastructure and other concepts for the healthcare. And we are closing the plenary session with Christophe, who will give his insight on patient experience and their place into technological developments. How will we proceed for the next coming hour? Every speaker, we have a duo, will have 10 minutes who will present their story. In the meanwhile, you can use your chat function to share questions or statements with our speakers. On one hand, there's Elke next to me, you cannot see her, but who will help us also in managing the Q&As and making sure that we will give some answers to that. At each speaker, there will be also a poll question that will be asked to the full audience. It's a yes or no response that you can give. And then we will close up afterwards with a small debate where different questions can still be posed or raised, and where the different speakers can put their light upon. So get ready, make the chat working, and then Florian, thank you for heading off.
Well, thank you for the invitation and thank you for having me today. So welcome everybody. I'll share my screen and we'll start immediately. All right, please just let me know if you see the screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. So what I will talk to you about today is how we integrate patient experience and their requirements in the development of our products like MRI machines at Philips. So I'm just click next. Yeah. So at Philips, we have this mission, very ambitious, that we want to improve the lives of 2.5 billion people by the year 2030. And we want to do that by making them more healthier through our innovations, but also more sustainable, living in a more sustainable world, actually, by having more ecologically responsible products. In the position that I have currently, I'm actually responsible for the experience of the MRI scanners that we developed at Philips. And in this category, we have a vision where we strongly believe actually that MRI scanners nowadays are too slow, not comfortable enough, and are still not giving sufficient definite diagnostics. And therefore, we have taken those 3 pillars as our innovation pipelines for future products. And as you can see, comfort, which includes actually, in our view, patient experience, but also staff experience, is a core part of this pillar. Now, why is patient experience so important for us at Philips? Well, if you look at the quadruple aim, you actually realize very fast that a good patient experience has actually an holistic positive impact to the quadruple aim. So, for example, if a patient in MR is well prepared in advance of the exams, you see that you will have less rescans. If the patient is satisfied by his overall experience in your hospital, overall the reputation of hospital is improved, and also its profitability. The staff experience, actually, staff feels much better and more motivated when they see that the patients are happy about the service that they're delivering. And finally, the health outcomes are improved as well, because if the patient is actually quiet and calm during the exam, especially for MRI, where motion is a big issue, then the exam is actually more successful as well, allowing the radiologist to have a more definite diagnosis by looking at the images. When you think about defining, for me, what patient experience is, it is actually everything which is happening in your hospital. So you have to take into account that it's about the total sum of interaction, also the culture that you have in your hospital, your vision, and it's about the perception actually of the patients, of the care that you're delivering to them. So it is very important to focus on the fact that it is the way patients perceive your service delivery, and as a kind of an echo of what you wanted it to be in the first place. When looking at some studies around patient experience, there's this very nice study made by the Beryl Institute in 2018, which were asking patients what was important for them, what was important drivers of their experience when they go into the hospitals. What's important to know is that for 56% of them, the people, so the care providers, are driving the experience. So that means if you invest in your people, if you make sure that they have the time to care for the patient, and the tools for that as well, then they will become the main ambassador of it. The second one is about the processes. Think about how long does it take to get my appointment? How fast can I get my results? How easy is it to comply with the request from the physicians? This is really important for patients, as they just want to have the fastest results possible, especially for radiology. And finally, it's about the quality of the places and the equipments as well. So is it a calming environment? Is it renovated, or and so forth? So this is traditionally an area where at Philips we have played a big role. When we look into radiology and we focus on the unmet needs of patients in radiology, we have, out of a survey we conducted in 2017, figured out that communication and comfort are the two biggest unmet needs. And it is actually essential to consider this holistically for the complete care path. And that includes exam preparation, for example, exam execution, but also follow-up and reporting. This is one of the examples of the products which were created back in the day, fueled by patient experience, which is the ambient experience, and have proven over time that by having a stimulating but also calming environment, we can influence and calm down patients, reduce claustrophobia, which leads to better results for the MRI. And then lately, also our Inbox Connect solution, which helps to actually guide the patient through the process during the scan itself, helping them to understand where they are in the exam and how long they still have to get to wait before it is finished. Now, let me unveil a bit of the behind the scene of how do we incorporate patient experience and user experience requirements in our product development. So at Philips Design, we actually have a kind of a promise that we say to ourselves that it's a bit of a mojo. We say we dare to care. So we want to really, all our designers and colleagues to feel empowered to really go the extra mile and seek for what is really guiding the patient's, I would say, desires and needs. And we have 3 pillars that we follow for that. So the first one is radical empathy, which is all about trying to be in the user's shoes. So trying to understand what the patient goes through, as well as the staff, because the more we are understanding this, the more, let's say, the more appropriate our solutions are. And the way we do this is by actually visiting the hospitals. It's about doing field research, being a fly on the wall, and then getting the insights from just looking at what's happening and how people react when they do their work and how patients experience it, as well as, of course, as doing user interviews. Because we are a big company, we also need to make sure that all this knowledge is translated and populated and communicated through the whole company. So we actually, for that, use personas. Personas are kind of like a portrait of a certain person, or being a patient, or being a staff member. And it helps us to communicate about the pain points, but also the mindset of those people, so that everybody in the company has the same knowledge than the people going in the field, and is able to propose some relevant innovations. The second pillar that we follow is holistic care, because we acknowledge the fact that in healthcare, it is not only about just the moment where we have the patient on the table in front of an MRI, but it's about the complete journey. And looking at this journey, creating some experience flows based on all the visits that we get from hospitals, it allows you to get and identify the pain points that we then use as trigger for innovation. One of which is this one, which we recently created, which is about helping young children to prepare for MRI scan using a preparation app with games and videos, tutorials that they can already use at home, so that when they come into the MRI exam, they already understand what the MRI is all about. They are accustomed with the noises and what they have to do, and they are less afraid, which will lead to less sedation amongst children. Finally, the last principle is called humanizing technology, because simply technology for the sake of technology, even if it's the best and is not usable by humans, is actually useless. So we need to create products which really take into account how people do want to interact with technology, how do they comprehend it, and technology should adapt to them instead of the other way around. And we do that a lot by doing prototyping in our projects. So digital prototyping, physical prototyping, you see here one of my colleagues doing some VR experimentation. And that really does help us to go the extra mile in understanding how people may interact with the products. But of course, in the end, we all need to test our products with the end users. And we do that a lot repetitively in all our products until we feel comfortable that the product is good enough. And we do use a system usability scoring to monitor the progress there along the project timeline. Here you can see an extract of some of the latest innovations that we brought to market, which are related to improving the workflow or improving patient experience. Our Vital Screen and Smart Touch UI, which is actually introduced on all the Elysian and Ambition systems of Philips, is really helping the staff to get all the information that they need for the MRI exam of a certain patient right at the gantry, so that they can actually do not lose time going back in the control room, for example, and can focus on the patient. The Breeze workflow, where we have actually a very comfortable coil, which are much more lightweight than the predecessors, and therefore help the patient to feel more comfortable. At the same time, their extra flexibility helps the staff to adapt it to the patient's condition and the morphology much more accurately. And finally, one which might sound trivial, but it's about the mattresses themselves. So we recently created what we call the Comfort Plus mattresses, which are using a special memory foam. And they do make a tremendous impact on patients, because the fact that they are so much more comfortable allows patients to lay still for a longer time and makes the MR exam much more successful. I would like to thank you all for your time. And if you want more information, I'll be happy if you contact the Philips website. Visit it. Thank you. I think need to unmute Vic.
Unmute. Okay. Now it worked, but I think it's Mireille who has to help me. Thank you, Florian. Thank you very much. While you were speaking and while giving some opportunities to the audience of posting a question or a statement through the chat, or try to unmute, Mireille can help there to post your question, we launched a first poll. The poll that was asked was, does patient experience influence your buying decisions for medical devices? There is 58% who confirms yes, 4% no, so almost nobody, and sometimes still 38%. I don't know if you want to reflect on that. We can see it also for Mireille.
Yeah, I think it's a bit unfortunate, because there's a lot you can do. If you invest in patient experience, you will see that it will influence and improve your outcomes as well at the end. So it may not be easy to see it on the short term, but on the long term, you will definitely have a more better outcomes, certainly for radiology. That's the field I can talk about. And I believe also that patients which are happy with your services do speak to their friends, their families, and do increase the reputation of your hospital as well, driving referrals to your department.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's already hopeful that that there's almost nobody who is not integrating patient experience into medical devices and other. More than half is actively doing that, and the others are doing it from time to time. So that is already very hopeful. I give the example on the Clinique Saint-Jean with the new accelerator, and honestly, it is a choice that can be made depending on what kind of hospital one is. When we are a big university hospital, for example, one could imagine that we need. It's more important to have all the difficult possibilities at the end. But for hospitals such as Saint-Jean, for example, there we have still more liberty of choosing more also for patient experience than for different things. Probably it should not be one or the other, but that is something up to you. I see, is there somebody in the room, in our virtual room, who would like to pose a question or a statement to Florian, or share an experience, a good one or a bad one, with medical devices on which you have chosen lately that you regret didn't take into account, or that you have positive experiences? I know it's always difficult for a first one. You can do it by unmuting.
Or in the chat.
Or in the chat. Also, if you do not succeed in unmuting, then please give a yell through the chat that Mireia can help us unmuting. Still opportunity of getting back to that later also, of course. But I'll suggest, no, there is no one coming in. I suggest that we go to the next duo. There are some questions that we will relate to everybody, to you later on. I'm just looking, Mireia. No, okay, thanks, Mireia, inviting on the chat. Thank you very much, Florian. Can I give the opportunity to, we will talk later, to Raymond and Danny, who will jointly take us through their conceptual journey. Please go ahead.
Are you seeing my screen?
We see your screen and we hear your lead clearly. That's for Raymond. Then Danny, can you maybe say something to make sure that we hear you?
Hi, are you hearing me properly?
Perfect. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Hedvig, for the for presenting ourselves and for the organization to invite us. As you say, we are going to do this part of the conference, Danny and I together. We are two different designers. Danny is a graphic designer. I'm an interior designer. And we have different studios and we work together, especially for healthcare projects. And we are going to try to condense the presentation we did for the video that is uploaded in the webpage of the Congress, and trying to explain our more or less 10 years of experience working for healthcare projects that we work in conjunction, joining both multidisciplinary approaches into this type of projects. And all the work we...
Raymond, sorry.
Yeah.
I think you are not sharing properly your screen, are you? Are you watching Raymond's screen? No, there's no presentation. Sorry.
You are not seeing the screen? You are not seeing my screen? There. Right now, are you seeing the? Can you confirm that you are?
Now it's working. Now it's working.
Okay, I'm sorry for. So I'm going I'm sorry. We were here, right? Can you please confirm that you are watching the presentation? Are you watching the presentation? Okay. So what I was saying is that all the work we do for healthcare, we try to define all this work in environmental design. That is basically the creation of atmospheres, ambiances. And to do that, what we do is lots of types of works that we are used to do, like interior design and environmental graphics, wayfindings or signage, space identity, corporate identity, sometimes interactive design, and furniture design also. And with all these type of techniques, what we do is what we call about environmental design. I'm trying to be a little bit fast, and I'm going to jump some chapters because you can see all of this in the video uploaded in the web page. And here,
yeah, shall I continue? Yeah. Well, hi everyone. So what do we do specifically in a hospital? Well, we understand our work as a tool at the service of patients. So beyond medical practice, so beyond diagnosis and treatment, which traditionally has been understood as the medical practice, we understand patients should be treated beyond that, and we should look for, we should take care of their experience beyond these medical issues, and taking care of the hospital spaces. So we'll try to be more specific in 3 points. Like the first of them is redefining how a hospital looks like, which is seeking a more humanized architecture, an architecture that's closer to people. For us, it's important to break the negative stereotypes that we usually have related to hospitals, like cold spaces, sometimes white spaces, and instead foster some other kind of spaces defined by values such emotions, play, experience, care. And the way we do it is looking for unexpected spaces, unexpected atmospheres. For instance, you wouldn't expect this to be a emergency ward area, or asking us questions that, for instance, why should a hospital be white? I mean, microbes settle in the same way on a white surface or in any other color. So sometimes it is just about social conventions, and we should ask ourselves, what values are we transmitting by color, by forms, by the interior spaces in general? Could we please go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is a sorry.
Do you want this web? This?
Well, this is magnetic resonance imaging room, which is traditionally one of the most, or at least quite a cold experience, or quite an unpleasant experience in children's hospital like this one. So our work is like trying somehow to transform it and making it look like something else, something more pleasant.
And that's the other point, that is connecting with the users, understanding users as everyone that uses a space in a hospital or in a center. The main goal of this point is basically to understand that to appeal to them, to understand that the users are very different. We have a very different variety of users, and every user has a very different sensitivity. And for example, with this example that is going back to the Children's Hospital Sant Joan de Déu, the main goal was to do a project, a storyline for the whole hospital. And this is an example of how we wanted to do something that not for children, but not childish. Usually what is pleasant for a kid is completely uncomfortable for a teenager. So the main goal is try to understand that there are a variety of users. Also, we understand the professionals as users, also not only the patients, and also the families. So to understand that the people that passes by an hospital is very, very diverse, and we have to do. We need to design with the strategies that the final result is going to be comfortable for everyone. And nowadays, it's not strange to find all the children's hospital with well-designed projects. But I think that it's also important to do the same for hospitals only for adults. And this is another case, an hospital that we design in a inland Catalan city in Manresa. Altaia is the name of the hospital. And what we do here is to look for reference in the region that this hospital is doing coverage, and enter all these reference of landscape, also using visual poetry, talking about the vegetation, the animals, everything around the region into the hospital. At least to do something. This is a hospital. The main goal is to the area we are watching right now, and in these slides is the oncology area, and it was very important for us to remove the mental stereotype that everyone has as a hospital was oncologic area. Move this concept to something more closer to what is maybe wellness, to try to at least remove people what they are thinking and all these concerns, and trying to make them more comfortable. One of the things that we do, and here we are seeing again Sant Joan de Déu Children's Hospital, might be applied for that concept that we were trying to explain here, is that when we design, we try to leave room for the imagination, to design where the user is going to be able to do its own interpretation. Try to, for example, what we are seeing here is like a space divider in Sant Joan de Déu Hospital, and if you have a frontal view of this space divider, you don't see probably nothing, but when you move, you see a rhinoceros. It's not obvious. If you have to pass every day by this place, you don't need to see the same image every day, and suddenly maybe it's something surprising. At least you see something colorful. But we understand design as trying to leave always a little bit of room for the user's own interpretation. The environment design strategies at the end, what they foster to look for calm and serenity for the patients, and in children's hospital is very useful because the kids are more are able to be treated, or for a doctor or whatever type of procedure that has to be necessary to do. And in this case, we did an interactive project design for a main hall of an hospital. And here, in this case, we were designing interactive installations, all of them connected about how the human body works. And in that case, the kids could play with this type of installations, and at the same time having a connection about the human body and all these systems that we can see in these images.
So the third and last point is designing parts in order to design a whole system. Most of the time, design project of the hospital is a long-term project, and it should be done bit by bit. And that's why it's important to understand these bits as part of a whole system. And this means designing in terms of guidelines, and this means as designers we call this identity. So this means designing an identity for the spaces. How we do it is, on the one hand, we create a common thread, which is a theme, storytelling, common thread that transmits the values that the institution needs to transmit to the users. And on the other hand, we talk about a visual language, which is what gives visual identity, which is what gives coherent unity to the whole hospital spaces. Sorry. There's some examples here. This is a hospital, a psychiatric hospital, which is placed in a rural area below the Pyrenees. And we designed a system of shapes, collection of shapes. Each one of them is referred to a different aspect of the local context: landscape, rivers, trees, farming, and so on. So once we have these pieces, this collection of pieces, we can solve most of the hospital space needs, such as wayfinding, windows, sometimes environmental design for children. There's some other examples like the next one. I'm going fast because there's this video where we're explaining this a bit more in detail. This is a hospital in Panama, which the main concept is based on one of the most common views for the Panamanians, which is maritime traffic, the Panama Canal, obviously, and it's synthesized in these maritime flags. And once we have these flags, we have these shapes, we can build a whole system. This is a children's hospital. We can build a whole system based on the same visual language and the same criteria. So this is quite a big hospital. So this gives a whole identity to the spaces. And also solves this. Well, that's a main point of this. So solving this humanization of these spaces. This is some similar case in Dayton, Ohio, in the United States, and this was Dayton is where the Wright brothers first flew an airplane. So the whole storyline talks about things that fly in general, not only planes, but also birds, balloons, and so on. So yeah, it's a children's hospital too. And this is a different case. This is a psychiatric treatment center for teenagers. So it's a different kind of public, not so childish, and it's based on the architecture of the building where it's located, which is a modernist building in Barcelona, and the shapes of the building are used as the basis of the visual language. And this is a project that you might probably know, which is St. Joan de Déu in Children's Hospital in Barcelona. And this visual language is quite simple. It's based on like 3 ingredients that conforms our whole recipe, and these are animal shapes, repetition patterns, and a specific color palette. And with these ingredients, we build lots of recipes that all of them are part of the same system. This is the environmental design part, but this project went beyond this. And could we go to the next one, please?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So the system became, the visual language became so powerful they expanded to the corporate identity, merchandising, wayfinding, and so on. So in this case, the environmental design system expanded to the whole hospital, so it will serve as basis of the identity of the whole hospital, which is quite a success for us.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that we try to condensate what we explained in the video that is updated in the webpage, because we wanted to fit with the 10 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you, Raymond. Thank you, Danny. I think we have some questions specifically towards you, so I will share them with you. And we have also a poll, which we first share because it's popping up. So one of the questions related or in sync with your presentation was, is your hospital wide in the broad sense of the word or not? Then I think it's surprisingly, but at least for me, it's surprisingly, I don't know how you feel about, 74% does not perceive his hospital as wide, and only 26% does. I don't know what your first reaction is on that, if any.
Well, it's not bad to be white for a hospital. That's the first reaction I have. I mean, we should just, our vision is that we should just ask ourselves why this should be white or not. But I'm quite surprised. There's so many people that don't perceive the hospital as white. You know?
Okay, then I will ask, getting to that or linked with that, I will start with the latest question. You can also see it on your chat scrolling. But a lot of interior design proposals are wonderful, and I thought the same when looking to your images before. But in most of the hospitals, at least eXperience shared in here, is that these kind of projects are dropped or can be dropped due to hygiene, hospital department or constraints. I don't know whether you have some experience with that, whether certain proposals you made didn't got through for these reasons, or do you take that into account? Danny, Raymond?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, of course. So one of the questions is that a lot of designs proposals are wonderful and have worked, but some and most of those concepts had to be dropped off due to a veto from the hygiene hospital department.
Yeah, well, yeah, all the time. Right now, for us, it's very natural to design knowing all the hygienic restrictions, because after all these years. But yes, all of them, they have to be approved, of course. And at the first years working for healthcare, Danny and I, that I mean, as an interior designer, as a graphic designer, it's not that in our professional roles, it's not that normal to work for healthcare. And at the beginning, yes, we had to understand a lot all these type of hygienic requirements. But right now, it's very natural, and we know the materials and the techniques and how to do it to fit with all these hygienic requirements that the hospitals ask. Yeah.
So yes, you had experienced that in the past, but step by step you integrated also those restrictions into the proposals you made, if I understand.
Yeah, and I realize that there are hospitals more restrictive than others, and about that, and also depending on the area, of course. But for example, actually, mental health, for example, technically the hygienic requirements usually are like there is no, it's not the same like on an oncologic ward or something like this. So we try to know the restrictions we have in each case, and we always like to try to do different things and innovative things, but always with that in mind.
Bringing me to an earlier question asked whether you know or familiar with the Egyptian architect Ibrahim Karim, biogeometry, who studied more than 20 years the effects of shape on the biology. And for example, he, and I'm quoting, he designed a hospital in Egypt, especially for epileptic children. And he discovered that octagonal shapes intend to reduce the number of epileptic insults. I don't know whether you're familiar with that or whether you have other...
I didn't know.
No, honestly, we didn't know him, but...
Voilà. Do you have other experiences
sure.
where studies on shapes, forms, colors, or others had specific or have specific impact, scientific impact on certain pathologies or other? Is it something which you experience or go up?
No, is a typical question about that, about colors and how the colors affect?
It's following this question. I don't know whether you had experiences or other insights on these kind of things so far.
But
I think there's
we are very free using colors in healthcare projects, and we use the common sense, I guess, to don't do like things that might be unpleasant. And I think that following the rule that try to do things pleasant for everyone and comfortable for everyone, and looking for fostering serenity and comfortability for everyone, I think that's all. And yeah, about the question of the poll about hospitals, white thing is not is I think an hospital can be white, can be wherever color. I think that with the environmental design, what we try to do is break the negative stereotype, and maybe the strategy is going to use adding colors or adding other type of. I mean, it's not all about color or not color. I think it's much more complex.
Complex than color.
But
thank you. I have another question I would like to get to you. How in the process of designing what you all showed, how do you collect the experience of the patient and the patient expectations in the concept or in the conceptual design you're making?
Well, we usually work together with the patient experience department of the hospitals. So we do sometimes do interviews with patients, interviews with the staff of the specific department we're working for, but the patient experience process, which is the more methodological part, usually is done by the patient experience department of the hospital. So we do these interviews, we sometimes do workshops with patients, but not in a methodological, very strict methodological way. I mean, we are designers, not...
Okay, so you try to walk it through with some patients in the beginning or while developing a concept.
Yeah, but we leave this part for the experts. I mean,
and there are projects that we design more with this type of backup from these departments, and there are projects that we didn't do it that much. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you to both. Mr. Collin, I know you shared the reflection with us, and I suggest to come back on that once we heard also the story of Christophe, because I think all 3-4 partners can bring their light to your question. So I will not forget it, but I'll get back to that later on. Christophe, are you ready for your part?
I am ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud
Okay.
and clear.
Perfect. I will share my screen also.
I will stay unmuted until we all see that I can confirm.
Can you?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We can still hear you. We still see
Okay.
you, but no presentation yet.
I was telling me I'm going to have to exit and go back to the Zoom software. So maybe it would be better if you share the backup slide that you have.
Mireia, is it possible for you to share the presentation of Christophe?
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
Just one moment.
That will be easier.
Yes, thank you, Mireia. Okay, Christophe, you see it also?
Yep, perfect.
Please feel free.
Thank you, Hedwig. So my name is Christophe Rousseau. I'm the co-founder of Exolis. We're a company that provides innovative solutions for like patient portals, patient engagement apps. Today I will be talking about digital patient experience. This is the main topic, and I will illustrate that topic by choosing three key issues, three stakes that hospitals can encounter in the defining the strategy of digital patient experience. First and foremost, I will say consider care as a global journey. This is something that is very important. I'll take a journey of ambulatory surgery as an example, which is, I think, a good illustration because the patient will have a several week long journey. It will meet a lot of professionals. It will meet surgeons, anesthetists, nurses, medical assistants, administrative personnel. It will meet a lot of different people, and in that situation, it will be given information that will be considered as accurate, as in the right timing. But the problem in all of that is that each professional will give what he feels like the best information and the most precise information at the right time, but he doesn't know what the other colleagues have said. So this is something that is a major issue, is how to provide coherent and with the right timing information to the patient, which can be information prior to the surgery or after the surgery. So this is something that is very, that we witness a lot on the field today. And what we don't want as a hospital to share to the patient is the big separation that exists between the administrative side and the medical side. We want them to feel as this is a whole journey. Everything is connected and everything is coherent and is a complement. So this is something that is very a challenge. How can digital experience can improve that? I have two examples. The first one is, well, patient portals as a way to have a clear view of the whole journey. You can foresee every step of the journey in a centralized way, in a practical way. It can be in a simple app that you can get access anytime you want. This centralized information is also a vector for less stress for the patient. And also, this is something very important, and less questions will be asked to the healthcare professionals. So everybody wins, everybody gains time in these situations. So patient portal, and other examples can be also self-registration kiosk, when people can skip waiting lines or can get help in orientation in the hospital. So there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of materials, a lot of ideas where you can provide simple information, but in a centralized way and in a personalized way. Second topic, which is the one that is shown, is what I called from information to empowerment. We talked about information. The next step is to give patients the ability to be engaged in their care journey and to participate in the medical choices and the way he is driven in his different care processes. I'll take as an example oncology. As you all know, oncology is a field where the patients have months of care journeys. There is a lot of treatments, a lot of medical specialties involved. This is a very pluridisciplinary situation. So this is where you have to engage the patient. This is where you have to be sure that the patient will understand every step and will follow the instructions when he has to follow instructions and take into account every possibility in his own daily life. I'll take a further example in the oncology specialty. When a patient is given a chemo treatment, for example, there is a lot of things that change in his daily life, in his or her daily life, like how to handle side effects, things that cannot do, work-related issues. He cannot. He has to stop working for several weeks. So everything has to be taken into account, and everything needs to be done like I said, at the proper moment and with the ability to reach the care team at the right time. I have a problem in my stomach. That could be a side effect. Can I ask or can I get the information from the care team that is this something that is normal as a fact that is something that is following a chemo, and this is something that has to be monitored but not raising an alert. So how can we help institutions with these kind of journeys, and how can we help patients? We design and we provide like digital companions, digital apps that will provide more interaction than the first example that I used. It will be focused on personalized information, on, if possible, direct communication, or let me say targeted communication with the care team. It can be therapeutic education, that could be games, that could be interacting with other patients that have the same situation at the same time. So there is a lot of possibilities and a lot of aspects that you can share and that you can dig into when you have some digital companion at your disposal. That's the patient gain, and for the organization, that is also a great tool to get everybody in a pluridisciplinary state, get everybody work together, because you have to take into account every job, every specialty, to deliver a simple message to the patient. And the whole process of getting to choose and getting to decide and validate the message for the patient, this kind of collegial work is important in your organization, as this is something that you can enable with that kind of projects. Third and the last topic is how to measure. Digital, of course, gives the possibility to measure patient experience. In this case, when I talk about patient experience, I'm not talking only about digital patient experience, but all kinds of projects. Could it be design projects or with equipment? You all need to find ways to measure the impact of of a patient experience project. Will it be for the patient? How is the patient experience improved in his point of view? Or is there a return of investment for the organization? Does the medical personnel have improved relationship and improved situations on the field? So there is a lot of questions that can be asked in this case. And of course, digital interactions, information systems as a whole can be a great source of data and of information in order to measure that's KPIs. A digital portal, a digital companion has the beauty that it has a new source of information. This is the patient giving his information just at the tip of his finger in his pocket. So that's something that you can apply to a variety of examples. Satisfaction form. We have improved the completion rate of satisfaction form from 25% to 75% just by going digital and integrating in the whole digital companion. You can measure waiting times, so you can measure delay between appointments, you can gather clinical research data also. So at the tip of your finger, you can have the ability to reach 10,000 of patients in one instant, and therefore get more and more data that you can provide and match with the other ways of measuring the improvement of experience. So as a conclusion, I will say that of course, patient experience is about improving the patient comfort, the patient medical outcome, and it comes from measurement, which we see, to accompaniment, and information to empowerment. This is the third step, and the last goal you want to reach is the way to engage and to empower patients in the whole history and in their whole history of the hospital. Thank you very much, and I would be glad to answer any question that you might have. And the microphone from Vic is muted. Okay.
Hello. Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Christophe, for sharing this with us. Let's have a first look at your poll. Do you provide, we asked to the others, whether you provide your patients with a famous digital companion. 70% still not, but already 30% have this kind of companions. Is there somebody who has already a digital companion who can share a kind of experience of what kind of companion you have already, and whether you have a good or a rather challenging experience with it? I can ask, and then be a little bit patient, which is not my best characteristic. But if later on one can share or feel the courage to share, please feel free. We still have some opportunity. Thank you, Christophe. I don't know whether you have other questions specifically to ask to Christophe, which you can do on the chat, or which you can do by unmuting or giving a yell on the chat, that we can unmute you so you can ask your question or share your experience live as it can be. That there is a question coming up. You can also raise your hand. It's not a question. Thank you, Mireia. You can raise your hand. Indeed, a hand. There's a. I don't know where it is. You can raise your hand, or
there is a.
So that we can see you.
A question.
What technology, Christophe? What technology do you use to measure patient experience?
Well, the first and the most simple technology, based on the fact that the hospital provides a digital companion, is a simple form. We have simple questions asked. The patient is notified. Can you give us your insight on this or this? We had this in the COVID, for the first period of the COVID crisis, where a hospital put in place a lot of new signals or things to indicate the patient where we have to go, where we have not to go. and they wanted to measure if this is something that is understood and this is something that is received well by the patient. So they sent the question to 10,000 patients that were already connected, and they had a really great feedback in matters of 1 day. I think it was 1 or 2 days. They had like 3,000 patients that answered, because this is very simple. They have a ting ting. This is for their hospital, so they have a very good sentiment in the way that they can participate to improve the hospital. So this is a very interesting thing. And then you can use captors, you can use medical devices, you can use. I talked quickly about kiosk. With the kiosks, you can measure when the patient arrives exactly, and then in the information system you can know when the patient sees the doctor, so you can measure the waiting time. So there's a lot of possibilities.
Thank you, Christophe. Can I ask all the speakers to unmute yourselves? Florian, Danny, Raymond, thank you. I have still a couple of questions on which I'll take your insights, referring to the one that Mr. Collin stated and on which Florian already responded. But isn't it often a choice of a cost choice, of a timing choice, that to go for more devices, technology, even concepts that we think are functionally okay, without integrating the patient experience as such? Because I think oftenly we fear that we would lose time and money of including patient experience. I think, Florian, you already responded to that, but please feel free. And I don't know whether the other ones want to highlight something on that.
So if I, oh, sorry, Christophe, you can go.
No, go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, I just wanted to add that I think there what's important to look is the long-term perspective. Because what may seem like maybe a more expensive system, because it has some patient experience dedicated solution in it, eventually, or on the long term, will actually cost you less money, because it will help with the success of the exam so much that you will get your money back, if I may say it that way. And then the other thing which I was saying to Mr. Collin was that the first thing about patient experience is, apparently, according to patients, that it's about the people who actually deliver the care itself. These people are primarily the ones that they believe are driving the experience. So if you can empower them, it may not cost you anything, but more than simply making sure that your staff is well equipped to deliver a good care. And that is the first thing to do.
And is regaining on that or rebounding on that, isn't it often not the patients who are the end users when we talk about cost and long term? And it's to all. Isn't it often not the patients who are the real users, but the doctors? I think when I think of medical devices, I think of doctors. When I think of technology, it's probably others and concepts. Is it? How can we match both of the expectations?
Yes, I think that's what we try to do a lot by being a manufacturer of systems and solutions, right? It's always this balance between the clinical needs and the patient needs. And that's what we take into account in our products.
And I know that amongst others, the doctors of some of the doctors of Saint-Jean are there, so I can afford me the next statement. But do our doctors do not know better what they need for the patient than the patient itself?
That's a tricky question. We have an example in a project involving chemotherapy and the following of side effects, where everybody was talking about how to present what to do when, in case of which side effect can occur, and being very precise, like an algorithm thing we had to do, and the patient, because we involve patients in that process, the patient has had a simple remark. He said, okay, the great problem is that we do not have these information today. But we do not, we hesitate to contact our care team because we are fearing of interrupting them, and we are fearing of being too disrupting for them. So there is a lot of cases where just not having any information at all can provide stress, can provide situations where the patient will let the side effects degrade. And the important thing is not to have a precise information. What the patient said is to have something reachable at any moment. It was a very important conclusion of that project.
Thank you. Again, continuing on that, we have questions, one for Danny, but I have multiple ones. Once you say that that we don't know better, but the patients, how do we include discussion with patients and health personnel? Is it through workshops, their opinion, and how did we make sure that we reach enough patients to have, let's say, the right sense of what they are asking? It was specifically asked to Danny.
Mm-hmm. I was just answering this, writing the answer, but I can answer here. Yes, well, we don't do service by ourselves, because we work with patient experience departments, and they do this kind of work. We use it a lot, this kind of information, but we don't design because of what, in terms of what, it's us who design, it's not patients who design. We use this information as a briefing in order to make a design proposal. But no, we don't do this service by ourselves. That's the question. I don't know if this is the this was a question.
I think I can take it a little broader and address to the full group. When there are as much patients experience as there are people, so it's very diverse. So one of the questions is then how do you have stable working groups with patients, and how do we make sure that the patients give their opinion, and that we find a right opinion that we can include into the changes, into the structural changes of the hospital? Is it through advisory boards, different ones? Is it a stable platform? Is it on a one-to-one? I don't know, Florian, Christophe, Raymond and Danny. How do you interact really with your patients?
So I don't necessarily know or believe in the idea of having some advisory board of patients, because I think after a while it shouldn't be kind of like a small group of patients deciding for a whole hospital. So it's always a bit difficult, and you want to have the broader perspective. And as one said, we're all individual people. Every patient is different. You have different capabilities, different issues, different expectations. So what we try to do is we really take it, at least from a product development perspective, on it's about the context of use and the context of which the patient is you're designing for. So we have focus groups of patients. For example, if we are designing something for a neurology disease patient, we'll target that group and we'll include them into our study. And for me, what's most important is that so first you try to understand their motivations, their issues, their expectations, and then you, as Danny mentioned, you develop a solution that you think addresses their challenges. And then what you have to do after that is really test that solution. So present the solution to the patients, and then see if they recognize and if they do appreciate the efforts that you've made to solve their problems in there.
So based on kind of prototypes, whatever, or testing, you go back to a set of patients, whomever it will be, to get checks and take input. Christophe, is there something that you would like to add on that?
Well, with the digital perspective, there is a great chance that you can try and redo and try and redo, and it is of course important to get the patient's opinion and in the conception and the design stages of the project. But as I said before, the main and the rich part is to get the information from the patients once everything is in place, and you can reach out to the most possible diversity of patients and gather important and several profiles of patients, and then use that information to improve, and then get out there another form, another satisfaction form, or another measurement, and go back and improve. So this is something like with digital is more easier to do than with architecture or something else.
That's fair.
Danny, Raymond, a last interaction on that, or a last interaction on that?
Well, I was trying to imagine the process for all of us. I think that what we do is very different. I mean, very different products, and I think that the strategies to reach the patients they are completely different. And in our case also is a lot how to read what the patients say, and try to avoid certain things that you can understand that are particularities, and try to reach generalities. I mean, yeah.
That makes sense.
Thank you. I think what I can remain, and we are heading to a closure, is that there are more things that we share and that we agree upon than things that we don't share. So being part of SPX shared patient experience on one hand, if I look at Clinique Saint-Jean, who put the patient experience in the center, and all of you, I think we are all agree on the fact that in whether it's in technology, whether it's in infrastructure, whether it's in design, medical devices, people, logistics, whomever, patient experience should be part of every new project or transformation we are including. I think that is an easy takeaway in all disciplines. Another one is that everybody, whether it's a doctor or a designer or a manager or whomever, has to find out ways of going into connection with the patient, whomever it may be, to make sure that we include also the experience of the patient in everything. Having a space, as Florian said 2 times already, and I insist on it, more than 50% of the experience of a patient, the positive experience, is due to the interaction with a human being. So we have to include that to all. So instead, what is keeping us? I think we all have a lot of fears, being at cost, timing, courage to step to it. Instead of all, I think I didn't hear anything that could keep us from doing that. So it would be an invitation to all to lean in and make sure that we include our patients in all our conception and designing phases. So thank you all in first place to Florian, Christophe, Raymond, and Danny for sharing your experiences and your insights today. Obviously, thanks you all to the audience of assisting. That is definitely clear. Also, so who you cannot see, but I can see later, of taking the initiative, a validative initiative of bringing this community again all together. So thank you all, and then I hope we see each other in different circumstances back and have another discussion. Thanks all for the ones who took the opportunity of chatting. Mireia, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Take care all.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.